everyone, Eric and Abe from freelearner.how.
Hey guys.
Happy 4th of July. We wanted to do this sort of vlog-y thing today, a little less formal, have a little fun, talk a little bit about what freedom is and kind of what we think about freedom, why we started Freelearner. We also owe all of you an update about a good number of our projects, especially our crypto projects. We'll talk some about what we've been working on, and hope you enjoy. So, kind of kick us off, Abe, what is freedom to you?
Oh boy. Okay. So Eric and I were talking about this. Like, man, we should really get a video out there because with the 4th coming up, a lot of us in the States, we kind of think of the 4th being a patriotism holiday or a nationalistic holiday where we say, hey, we're so great because we have freedom of speech and we have freedom for right to bear arms and freedom to treat everybody, as we'd like to be treated in general. That's how all of our stuff kind of comes down to. And we think it is a uniquely American trait. But as you travel the world, you realize a lot of people have similar things and they may be different than ours. But in general, a lot of places actually have freedom too. So we kind of wanted to, or at least personally, what I'd like to do is to talk about freedom and to provide freedom on the site in a personal freedom. How can you as an individual gain freedom in your life? Because even though you live in the States, you may not actually feel very free because you have lots of restrictions for your work. Maybe you're working 80, 90 hours a week and you don't have to worry about what you say necessarily while you're in your own home, which is great. It's good to have that foundation, but you sure don't feel free. So personal freedom to me is a little bit more closer to the vest. It's I think that where you live is a good foundation to be able to support the idea of being free and to be able to give you that individual ability to become more free in your life. But for me, it's being free in lots of aspects. So if we start on the personal level, it would be like the freedom for myself to act the way that I would like to act. So some of the articles that I'd like to publish, and we've tried to publish, is some on like personal wellness, because it's actually a lot that has to do with what you are fighting on a day-to-day basis. It may not even be an invader from the outside that you have to worry about. It's yourself. At least it is for me. Time management is not a strong suit of mine. So that is a constant thing that I need to work on. And so I've been writing articles on that and ways to be able to kill the time gut that we suck ourselves into on certain things. Other things is on technology so that we can build a skill set to be able to build tools, to be able to help us get out, building businesses and personal finance to be able to become more financially free so that you can travel and see the world and go do things with your family and hopefully be able to do things to reduce your workload at work so you can spend more time with your family. On a personal level, what ended up happening is, well, I'll get to that. Well, I kind of want to give you a little background on myself, but we have lots of various different topics of what we think freedom is to me or to us. To kind of go real briefly, I grew up not super wealthy. Actually, I wouldn't say we were poor, but my mom had 3 jobs a long time when we were living. My dad died early when I was 3. And so she had to pick up the weight for three of us kids, and she was always working. And I love my mom so much because what she was able to do for us. But it's tough. It's tough because she had 3 kids, and those 3 kids had to learn how to grow quicker because of that. So we moved around a lot. We were never in a bad situation because my mom has really looked out for us. But there were times that I wish that we could have potentially done something different. So what I'd like to do is to provide that for my kids and also for anybody who's watching. And so, you know, as we were talking back and forth when we first started this thing, it was like we'd like to create a way for people to see what we're struggling with, because they probably are going through the same thing, and they can see how we're trying to help each other out. As we grew up, Eric and I, we actually started our first business together. We built a website business. So in 1998, we were like, we read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and we read a couple other books. We read all of Robert Kiyosaki's stuff and did the board game. And we're like, we're going to become financially free when we're 30 years old. I'm 38 now. Hasn't happened, but we're working towards it. So we're, you know, experimenting and trying, and it's not as easy as it says in a book, but it's good. It's good to at least try. So we started a website business, and we made a couple $1,000, which was great, and we owed like $3,000, so we might have broke even.
We made more than that. But
Did we? Yeah. And then, well, yes, I meant for just the website side, and then we did then we did a consulting side. I'll let Eric talk about that because he handled that a lot and it was pretty awesome. We did something kind of tricky there, which was pretty cool. And then we started this organization called American Hydrogen Association Northwest. It's a chapter that educated people to use hydrogen as an alternative fuel, and we built a bunch of technology and built fuel injection systems and electrolyzers and barbecues and all this kind of stuff to take renewable energy like solar and wind and convert it into hydrogen to run it in your cars. I had a hydrogen-powered car and drove around that for several years. Ethanol-powered car, natural gas-powered car. We had a biodiesel car for a little bit, and or Paul did. And one thing that we ran that for 17 years.
Yeah,
18
long time.
years.
Long time.
Had a huge following, which was great. Non-profit, so we were always fighting for money, which was not as fun, but it definitely, that wasn't what we're about, and not even now. I mean, that's not why we're doing this, but it was really limiting. It was really limiting to have all these ideas and all these ways to share, and all we could talk about was hydrogen.
Yeah.
God, it sucked. I really love the organization, but it just sucks to like have your creativity only be that. So when we were talking about, we wanted to start Free Learner to be able to build essentially like a how-to database that just says this is how you can be free in all these different areas. And we didn't want to lock it down to just one particular thing. I've had a couple of people ask us, like, oh, well, why don't you just talk about business and have a site for business and have a site for sustainability and have a site for renewable energy? And it's like, it sounds exhausting. I don't want to do that. I just want to have one site where people can go and just learn about all kinds of things. Because, you know, they're probably just like us. You guys, I mean, there's 6,000 of you visiting us now monthly, and it looks like more than that potentially. And so we want to talk about crypto, we want to talk about renewable energy, we want to talk about building solar powered security systems, we want to build all kinds of stuff. So that's why I'm here. How about you?
Okay, so for me, what is freedom? I guess I'll start with the Merriam-Webster dictionary version of freedom. It's the ability to act, the ability to not be stuck in a situation where you can't influence change or create change around you. And that's where I started with freedom when I was younger. Similar to Abe, didn't have a lot of money when I was young. My parents divorced when I was quite young. And as I got older, I knew that I wanted more. So it started with money. I would say that was an initial element.
Yep.
And part of when we started our web development company in '98, I saw a bit of an opportunity there. I was doing web development for bands, and that was kind of fun. And we said, hey, we could probably do this for other businesses too, and we could make some money. Mm-hmm. And while a lot of months were tough, there were some months that we actually made some pretty good money. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, I would say that was a real education, a real business education, was going in and understanding.
It was hard.
it was really
Yeah.
hard. At
Yeah.
first, I think one of the biggest challenges were just continually selling and building a pipeline, because we had months where we had some work to do, and I remember staying up late. I remember nights where we'd be up until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning building websites.
Yeah, and we were living together at the time.
Fall asleep
too.
at the keyboard.
Yeah.
Wake up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and just continue with the same thing that we were working on.
And working full time at 2 jobs.
and trying to go to school on the side as well. I mean, it was incredibly crazy.
To the point where one time, like, we've been best friends for a long time, to the point where we almost were like, fuck you, I'm done. Because it was we had so much work, and we just were so stressed out, and it was, learning expectations of what you want in a business partner is interesting too.
Well, and on Pipeline, I guess, where I was.
Oh, sorry.
Because it's so much fun background there, and then we would have these projects, and we'd finish them. We'd go and say, okay, we're done with this project. Go and invoice the client, and have nothing. Nothing to work on.
80 hours, and then you're like, dude,
And then it's how are we going to pay the rent? Going from, hey, we just sold this site, there's a few grand here, we just got that out the door, we spent the last week on that, to we have nothing to do. Yeah. So that was really difficult to manage, and I think, a really fun experience. And also a really good experience about, well, what is really freedom? Because creating a job for yourself, even if we're really successful, if you're working all the time, is that actually freedom? Or have you given away your freedom for income? As Abe said, we did a number of other things. The Hydrogen Association was, I see that as a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
I had a great time.
It was great.
As with any subject matter where people are passionate, people are going to disagree. And we didn't always agree, but that's okay. At the same time, I think we learned a lot. We built a lot of neat projects with that. I mean, Abe mentioned some of the, things like hydrogen-powered cars. What he didn't mention is the hundreds or even thousands of hours of work that went into these projects, where we had a team of people going and figuring out how to build a microcontroller to do the timing on a hydrogen-powered engine, because none of the off-the-shelf components would do it for us.
And it didn't exist. We literally went to the Oregon State University Library and read books on how fuel injection works, and had to design it from the ground up.
Yeah.
And to clarify too, I said it sucked. That's not true. I love that. It was my passion. I thought that I was going to do hydrogen my entire life. It's the only thing I talked about until I met my wife.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But then, as Abe said, part of the challenge, though, with the Hydrogen Association is it was fairly narrow focus. So we'd want to start branching off into this with solar, or that with biomass, and it really quickly sort of fell off the, no, that's not our mission. Our core mission is all about hydrogen. So fast forward now to Free Learner, which we started now a year and a half ago this month. I can't believe it's already been a year and a half.
Holy moly.
Started Free Learner a year and a half ago this month. As Abe mentioned, right now, at this point in time, we're probably averaging about 6,000 hits a month. Which is, it's an interesting amount of traffic. I hope to add some zeros behind that. But ultimately, our goal with this is not to run out and try and make $1 million and make this giant business of it. I would say, predominantly, the way I see it is, freedom is not a destination. It's a lifelong journey. Learning is not a destination. It is an act. It is something that you do continually throughout your entire life. So when we started Free Learner, and as we kind of look at continuing to build content and share with you all, a lot of that comes down to, what are these little things that we can do to learn about something new, to try something new, to have a new experience that allows us to, bit by bit, create freedom and freedom in the truest personal sense, like you know, working out in the garden. I did a video earlier on planting potatoes, and I'll do another one when it's time to harvest them. That's a lot of work. So a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, well, that's not freedom. That's just a bunch of work that you've created for yourself, which is true.
Right.
At the same time, the knowledge of how to grow things, the knowledge of where food comes from, being able to share that with my family is a new type of freedom. That
or an old freedom.
Or an old type of freedom, a new type of freedom for me.
Yeah.
So there's so many aspects to freedom, and that's why you know, I kind of like this super wide open thing that is Freelearner. One day we can talk about you know, writing code for FPGAs that do cryptocurrency mining, and the next days we can talk about build projects where, like, I've got another one that I'm looking to do here as time permits, where I've got microcontrollers and wireless sensors that I can go stick them out in the garden, and they can monitor what the soil moisture content is.
Nice.
And if I really go crazy with that, I could even connect it up to irrigation. I mean, there's so many fun little projects that you can, you know, do with that. So for me, it's just fun. This is all just having fun and building new projects and having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, should we give them some updates?
Yeah, I think so. I hesitated there for a second because I want to be like, oh, these are all these things I want to tell you. But you know what? We got enough on our plate, so as they come out, you'll see the new things that we're doing.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Keep
That's
watching.
Right. That's right. Yeah, exactly. There's lots of cool things that are brewing.
So, subscribe, come visit our site, sign up for the newsletter, all that good stuff.
That's right. So, so let's talk about some crypto updates.
FPGA? You're talking about FPGA?
I'm not talking about FPGA.
Okay, because that, I know, like,
sure.
2/3 of the people that are watching this, that's what they want to hear. They just want to say, hey, where's your FPGA miner? Can I buy it from you?
Right. So, yes, why don't I do that then in a minute? Why don't you talk about, like, what you've been working on? And then
okay.
And then I'll go into it.
All right. So, what are some of the fun ones? And I'll do a separate video around this. One of the things that I kind of see a lot of folks who are in the crypto kind of playing around with trading or mining cryptocurrency is the market is incredibly volatile. It's not new to cryptocurrency. We have stock trading, for example, very, very well established. It's a whole new experience for a lot of people as they start to get into these things. I had a driver a few weeks back who I was talking to, an Uber driver, who I was talking to about cryptocurrency. And he was telling me how he had invested, I think he said about $5,000 quite a while back, and he, at the peak, which was last December, the end of last December, that was worth about $50,000. So in his mind, he had $50,000 worth of cryptocurrency.
Right.
And then early this year, when cryptocurrency tanked,
he didn't sell.
He didn't sell. He continued to hold on to that. And for him, I could just see as he was talking about that, emotionally, it was really painful to talk about that. So at that point in time, this is, I think, about 4 or 5 weeks ago. At that point in time, I was asking him, well, what's it worth now? $5,500. And I'm like, man, you're up $500. You're up 10%. You're in great shape.
Yeah.
But for him, he was emotionally stuck on that. It was $50,000, and I could see that he's just continuing to grasp onto it and hold it and hold it and hold it, hoping that it'll go back.
Yeah.
And
it might.
Or
it might not.
And it might.
Who knows? It's a crazy thing.
It might. I think volume is the thing that's key here. Are there enough people that are actually going to be buying and selling and trading?
Yep.
And one of the things that I think is really important, one of those lessons that I thought I knew, and I had to take a couple of painful losses before I got consistent about it, is just doing some basic things like having an exit strategy. How much are you willing to lose if you're investing in something? What's your exit strategy if you reach that point? In trading, both for stocks as well as for cryptocurrency, there's a concept of a stop-loss trade. And I'll do a separate video on this because I think it's something that is pretty important that people know. I use what is now Coinbase Pro. It used to be known as GDAX, so they're kind of migrating to Coinbase Pro. And one of the things, and this is not a new concept. I remember Abe and I were reading books 20 years ago by Bill O'Neill about stock trading, and he's got a great rule at 8%. If you lose 8%, just sell. And I think that's a good lesson to have in place. Now 8% is kind of tough with crypto because it moves so fast. So you got to kind of decide how much you're going to lose. But at the end of the day, do things to mitigate your risk. Put in things like stop-loss trades so that you are minimizing your losses at the point where your exit strategy dictates. So I'll do another video about that. I've also kind of been in the side writing initial bits of a bot that can do some of those trades for me or kind of analyze some of the information for me. So one of the things that I want to do is put in place a bot that enforces some of these basic rules for me. So even if I forget to do this, it does it for me. And then I could also start to do some of the more advanced things like as the value goes up, if we're in an up market, it can raise those stop losses with me and move up the collar, if you will, so that I can then protect any gains that I have if the market turns around and goes negative on me. So those are some of the fun things that I've been playing around with. I think that's about it for the update that I want to give on that today. I don't want to give too much away from some of the future articles and videos that I want to write here, so maybe hand it over to you to talk about FPGA.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so something before the FPGA I just kind of want to say is like, I was actually talking to one of my friends about crypto the other day too, who lives in India, and he was saying, crypto is not a good market to get in. The value is just not there because what's the value on it? I'm like, well, what's the value on currency in general?
Yeah, U.S. dollar has no inherent value to it either.
Absolutely, it's just based on people wanting to use it and faith.
It's based on faith that other people want it.
Exactly, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing for orange juice. It's the same thing for any commodity. Yeah, it's just I have something you want.
Well, orange juice, I could at least drink it.
Well, that's true. Okay. That's true. It's true. But I actually think that crypto is this really cool technology. I think that for me personally, I think something that turns me on about it is the ability to bypass the banks because they're just. In the past, we used to say things like, "Oh, those banks, they're so crooked. They're so crooked," and people would just kind of like say that, and we knew that was true, but there was nothing really like to back it up. But now we're actually seeing reports come through that almost weekly a bank is stealing billions of dollars from people, or fraudulently creating all of these accounts and moving and shifting money, or giving money to, doing money laundering for various different organizations, and you're like, who are we letting our money go to?
Yeah,
and
it's about who controls the money.
Who controls the money?
You go back to the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules, right?
Is that from Aladdin?
I think it goes further back than that. But yeah, I mean that's one of the challenges, and one of the things that interested me about cryptocurrency as well is it's this concept of it's only valuable because we all say it's valuable, and there's no central authority who's controlling it, and and there's no central authority that has the ability to influence it
or inflate it.
Yeah, or inflate it, create it. Yep.
Destroy it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that itself is really, really powerful. So as far as like what coin do you do, who knows? Who knows what it's going to shake out someplace. And it may be a lot of coins or it may be a shift, and honestly it doesn't even matter. Because we're oh no, it's just an exciting time. There's all kinds of things that we can do with blockchain and with cryptocurrency in general, and if we can give less of the money to them, the better. So anyways, I just wanted to throw my little 2 cents out, because I did have a couple of people ask me on the site, like, why are you interested in crypto? You know, and there's this perception that, like, I'm mining just to be able to sell it. It's like, well, not really. I mean, you know, it is nice to be able to do that, but that's not the only reason.
Yeah, well, we get comments about everything on the site. Well, we want to respond to everything. I mean, honestly, we do. But hey, try not to forget. We've got day jobs. We're hanging out here, sharing, having fun with you guys. So there are days when we post stuff and we get multiple comments a day, daily.
Yeah. Well, and the things that what's crazy is what you see on the site, where you may see, I don't know, 60 comments or 30, you know, we'll have 10 times to, you know, probably 10 times that amount in our email.
Oh, and we love the emails, by the way. Yeah, keep sending them. We love the feedback.
And we will respond to every single one of them. I'm actually continuing to go through them daily. So I will respond to everybody. It's just, surprisingly, we just were pleasantly surprised that people even cared what we had to say. So thank you so much. Okay, so for the FPGA stuff, I've been working on building a whole bunch of different algorithms. So when I started this out in January, Equihash was the one that looked like it was the one I needed to work on, because it had the highest profitability rate on there. And so I was working on the Equihash code and was making some headway with it. Got a basic miner working, but it needs to be optimized, you know, pretty heavily for it. And I am currently working on a Altera chipset for it. But then I also was getting one going for Xilinx. So Xilinx and Altera, if you guys don't know, are the two companies that essentially make the FPGAs for the consumer market. There's two other manufacturers, but they mostly have higher end ones that are like in the $100,000 range cards, which, like, I would love that. Donate one. I'd love to work on it, but I don't have that resource. And there's lots of different boards. So I have seven different boards that I'm building for right now. And I posted a link for the update for the D10, so I have the D10 board that I'm building code for too. One of the things that I've run into is that when I went to engineering school, I did take courses in FPGAs, and that was 10 years ago. So being able to get back into vLog or VHDL. I'm running a lot of VHDL actually. Took a little bit to get going. I have another developer who's working with me to get things going there too. So it's good. We have a lot of progress that's coming. I'm hoping to be able to get one going for Crypto Night pretty soon here, and then NeoScript, because the boards that I have are actually memory intensive versus processor intensive. And so I actually specifically chose that because for the altcoins, if you use a processor intensive process, yes.
A processor intensive algorithm.
Yes. Such as Bitcoin as a for instance, or Litecoin, those two even, yeah, I mean, Litecoin you can say
SSJ, 256, and Script.
Yeah, exactly. Script is more resource intensive than Bitcoin is. And those both have been ASIC, but it's because they're both pretty good on the process intensive. So when you go ASIC, it's cheaper for you to put more processing chips on a board, and you can get them tighter form factor than you can with memory. And so it's a lot less expensive to be able to build one that is processor intensive. So what you see at least now, could change in a year from now, who knows. But you'll see that
Probably
the
change
coins...
next week.
Exactly. Is that the ones that are easier to be process intensive will go ASIC first. And the ones that are memory intensive will be more on the GPU side, and the FPGAs can kick the GPU's butt. So at least that's what we're hoping for. So so that's why I'm writing to those codes for that. So I'm hoping to be able to have something in the next couple months for you guys. I know it's been 3 months, probably. But I'm a full-time teacher, and so during that 3 months I was working, and I was also building these codes, and we're making headway, and I'm hoping to have something cool. Now, to do that, one of the things that I am writing to that's a little bit different than other people is that I'm building a system that will make it do-it-yourself coding. So a lot of these guys, they'll give you a bit stream for a certain type of board, and they'll charge you a percentage and have you do the development that way. So what I'm hoping to do is, once I get the code going, I can actually distribute the code for you guys that you can say, oh, I have this board, and then I can teach you how to change the code that I have so that it'll work on any of those boards without having me have to make one for every single board, because there's thousands, tens of thousands of boards out there. And this way you guys will have an open source one. So the reason why it's taken on me some time is because when you're writing the code, everything it's hardware based, so there's actually not a lot of flexibility there. And so trying to write code that is more flexible is a little bit of a challenge compared to just for one specific board. So in any case, I want to give you something awesome in just a couple months here.
We hope to keep sharing with you. We'll keep posting. Please subscribe, sign up for the newsletter, read the article. If you're watching the video, there's going to be a link down below to the site, freelearner.how. Come visit our site. We'll, of course, continue to post other articles and details on follow-up on these. And thanks for joining us on this 4th of July.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much.
Yeah. See you guys.
Bye, guys.